This is still the AM show, and just gone by was sports. Now, we're going to have that conversation about COVID-19 vaccines, but the other conversation we're having this morning has to do with climate change. And Ghana has been identified as one of the countries fast depleting its forest reserves. President Akufo-Addo revealed this in a meeting with the Ghanaian delegation attending the ongoing UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, and has tasked the Lands and Forestry Minister and the Forestry Commission to immediately fix this. Seth Kwame Boateng, who's following the event, joins us with updates. Good morning to you, Seth, from Glasgow. How's Glasgow this morning?
Good morning, Israel. It's very cold, extremely cold, and and we are preparing to leave to start the day. And today, the Energy Minister is coming because today is the Energy Day. So the Energy Minister is coming to interact with other people from other parts of the world attending this summit, this conference, like the Natural Resources Minister did yesterday.
All right.
The whole day was for him, and it's going to be the same for the Energy Minister today, Israel. But it's very cold. But so far, so good, Israel.
Okay. Before we get into what the Energy Minister is, we're expecting him to come say today, and I'm excited about energy because I'm expecting to hear that, okay, we're introducing some new renewable energy initiatives so that people can take up solar electricity and the others. But let's go back to yesterday and the depletion of our forests, which President Akufo-Addo was talking about. Now, when I spoke with you on News Desk on one of the shows, you indicated that the minister was going to be addressing or talking about how we're going to resolve that problem of the depletion of the forest. Do we have any ideas how we're going to go about it?
Yes, yesterday he addressed a number of meetings, and this very issue came up. And in all the meetings, he cited, aside the June tree planting exercise we did, which he said made Ghana plant 7 million trees. Next year, we are planting 20 million trees. And he says that's the beginning. But also in the cocoa growing areas, people looking for acres of land to do their cocoa farm usually will bring down trees and also deplete our forest. He says measures have been taken and they have had talks with the Ghana Cocoa Board. They have also engaged cocoa farmers so that there will be a win-win situation. Aside that, he said there are some punitive measures in place. For example, they're going to ensure that every timber we see on the market would have been properly approved and given the go-ahead to be sold on the market. So some measures that we put in place will ensure that nobody would have the freedom to just go to any forest, bring down timber and export. That's not going to happen again. But he emphasized on especially how Ghana plans planting more trees. He says that's just the beginning. But aside that, illegal mining, those who are mining in our forest reserves, they are also bringing down trees. He told the world is the reason the government is vigorously dealing with illegal mining, and they are making sure that is also stopped. But Israel, this conference is really shocking me, and I'm not in this alone. Especially people from other parts of Africa, the less endowed countries attending this. It appears that discussions going on, Israel may not help Africa in some way, because Israel, we are happy we have oil in commercial quantities. We know that other parts, the developed nations, some of them developed through that, proceeds from oil, and they made it. But here's the case. We are being told oil is not the way out because of climate change. We should go hydro, meaning very soon, the oil that we have discovered in commercial quantities that we are happy, no developed country would be willing to buy because we are going hydro. And Israel, just imagine that, those who sell at Abusioka, the spare parts dealers, So if we go hydro, I understand no vehicle will be using engines, so there will not be any parts for anybody to import and sell. So let's imagine what's going to happen to our brothers at Abusi Okai at Kumasi Magazine. Let's also think about fuel stations. What happens to the attendants? But Israel, let me quickly have this interaction with one of our negotiators, Mr. Samuel Doche. He has been leading Ghana. He has been joining other leaders from Ghana to speak to the world about what we need and how to help. And yesterday he made some frightening arguments, and that's why I'm bringing him in this morning. So thanks, Mr. Doche. Let's start off with our earlier discussion, the meetings that you attended, especially the last one you attended, and you came back very sad. What made you sad from that meeting?
Yeah, thank you very much, good people of Ghana. Speaking from Glasgow, yeah, the meeting that we had yesterday is on means of implementation. That is the resources or the financial resources that the developed world promised to make available to developing countries to address the issues of climate change, which is a COP decision. When I say a COP decision, it's a multilateral law that had been adopted in 1992. But unfortunately, the same people who made a promise or a pledge in 2009 to mobilize in excess of $100 billion a year for developing countries to assess in order for them to address the impact of climate change. These same people now come back and said, okay, you know something, we are going to come up with a new collective goal, meaning that we are now going to share the burden even on resource mobilization in order for us to address a problem that they are substantially responsible and where we are at this moment.
Because they are emitting like 76%.
Yes, of the global
emissions. And we are Africa.
Africa is about less than 4%.
Less than 4%, and they want us to share equally. Is that the case?
Yeah, they want us to share the money that is needed to address the problem.
And I know that from that meeting, it came up that they have also put in place stringent measures such that some countries may not even be able to access those monies even when they are made available. Is that the case?
Yes. Yesterday, I made a case that it doesn't make sense, excuse me to use that word, for a country like Ghana in accessing this fund will have to spend 4 good years in responding to questions upon questions from these multilateral funds. Because the time that these monies will be made available to you, assuming you wanted to address an issue of degradation in a particular ecosystem, and you have to wait for 4 good years. By the time you go back to the same problem that you identified, for example, if it's in 2018, by the time you get back, you get your money in 2022, the situation or the issue would have changed drastically. So what it means is that the monies, even though some are being made available, the mechanism, the processes that you have to go through, if you don't have that high level of technical capacity to develop financially viable projects, then forget about it. Quite a number of countries yesterday at the meeting were very worried about the continuous nature of bottlenecks that are being introduced by the funds that have been set up by the parties to address the issues of climate change in developing countries, including Ghana.
And I know that you mentioned that for years, Ghana has not been able to assess. When was the last time we were able to assess something from them?
Let me quickly say that one of the funds that was created in 2001, we call it the Adaptation Fund. Since 2001, it was until 2014 that Ghana was able to access about $8.8 million to undertake projects in the northern part of the country. Now, if you come to the Green Climate Fund, which was established in 2010 in Mexico, which I was present, it was until last year, thank God, the Forestry Commission has been able to access $10.1 million to address the issues of deforestation within the shale landscape in the northern part of the country. And let me also add that the Global Environment Facility, even though they made available on 4 years basis what Ghana should receive, because for me, that money is just too small. And of course, they are gravitating now into more loans than grants. That has been the spirit of the country.
So now they want to rather convert whatever they promised into loans. Is that the case? But that wasn't the agreement.
Exactly. That was that. You know, in negotiation, each country is looking for national interest.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a strong national interest and a strong position, what it means is that you are always going to be at the losing end of the game. Let me indicate that yesterday, Colombia indicated that for them, the transaction cost, if you apply for a grant or a loan, you want to undertake a project in your country, we call something special drawing rights. Okay. You are dealing with currencies that are, should I say, approved, the dollar, the yen, and the rest. The Colombia is saying that, look, it is high time the international community or the funds look at advancing monies to them, even if it is a loan in their national currency, because when you experience currency fluctuation, you realize that you take $10 million, by the time the money is delivered to you, it's about $8 million.
That's right.
So they are very concerned about that. Meanwhile, when that happens, you are going to pay back the original amount, which is $10 million, but it has depreciated. So you see, like for example, if you take Ghana, for example, if you go in for a loan in dollars and looking at the current rate of depreciation, by the time you receive the money has already depreciated. Meanwhile, if you are paying the money back, you pay back on the original principal.
And is Ghana also making the same argument, or we are okay?
I am making that argument today at the informal consultation section on finance and technology meeting that we have this morning. Very strongly supporting South Africa and Malawi, indicating that we cannot continue going the path that we are going.
Okay, let's quickly talk about the border taxes. And Israel, this other one would also shock you. How, if we are not careful, and how, if we don't bring all our experts together and depoliticize climate change, how we are going to lose as a country if we don't make a very strong case in this ongoing meeting. Let's talk about the border taxes or steel.
No, before you get into the border taxes, I want to engage Mr. Doche a bit on the issues that he's raised so far. So it's all well and good that we are negotiating hard to ensure that we get a good deal out of whatever funding that's being made available. But then I'm asking, let's have the conversation for a moment between ourselves. And between us, I'm asking, do we need any motivation from anywhere to preserve our forests?
That I would say yes or no. Yes, because forest has been identified as one of the key tools for mitigating the impact of climate change. So once Ghana is a country, once we have the land, which is very good for forest conservation, then of course, if we are increasing our forest cover, there's the need for the world to compensate for that.
Oh no, but okay, so I'm looking at it as in, if we increase our forest cover, we get the benefits ourselves.
Sure.
You agree? So then why do we need anybody to pay us to do something good for ourselves?
Israel, what you have to know is that the issue of climate change is not restricted to the borders of Ghana.
I agree.
Therefore,
but then we get the benefits, we experience the benefits here in Ghana if we preserve our forests.
Exactly. But again, just as I said, the trees that we have in Ghana, when they remove the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, we are not the only people who are going to benefit from that service being provided by the trees that we have planted. So for that reason, somebody has to pay us for doing that. Whilst we are getting the benefit as a country, the world is also benefiting from us through our efforts. Because mind you, we are going to spend some part of our national budget in doing that. Just as the developed world also having got the path they have over the years and now telling us that yes, when we emit, we produce the cars for you, we produce the fridges, we produce the electrical equipment. So for that reason, let us share the burden of cleaning the atmosphere. For that reason, once we also undertake activities such as tree planting, growing our forest cover, it is important, or it is imperative for us also to tell the world that yes, of course, we were not part of the problem, but we are part of the solution. So for that reason, you need to compensate us. So it is clearly spelled out in the negotiations.
Okay, so I would actually believe that it would be a richer argument if we go out there and say, look, we're going to preserve our forest anyway. It is unfair that we negotiated one thing and you, the developed world, are coming up with all these impediments and hurdles we have to cross to access the funding. Notwithstanding, we're going to preserve our forests and, in fact, improve our forest cover anyway, whether you pay us or not. And at that point, I think we're shaming them to do something good.
I agree with you. But again, let me indicate that yes, because, of course, I always say that if we have a good environment, if you have good air to breathe, I don't think, or if we don't have good water to drink, that will not be the concern of the United States of America or the European Union. It is to the good of our own people. But again, I'm saying that we have a global problem. We have a global challenge. So anybody who is participating in addressing the challenge need to be compensated for, just as your colleague was trying to tell you about the carbon border tax that has been introduced by the European Union.
All right, so let's talk about the carbon border tax now.
Yeah, so this is European Union. Have you realized that they told themselves they have to reduce their emissions by 55% based on the 1990 industrial levels by 2030, are now telling the developing countries that yes, we know you don't have stringent environmental rules or requirements in your country. So for that matter, if you are exporting your products into our country, then what we are going to do is that we are going to place a tax on the import that we are receiving as a European Union, so that we will use that to offset part of our 55% emission that we have promised the world that we are going to do. So in other words, they are trying very hard to pass on some of their responsibilities back to us by taking money from us.
So robbing Peter to pay Paul, essentially. They'll rob us and then give us some of the money and say, okay, go and use that to resolve your environmental issues.
So it is for that reason that I was very impressed by the stand taken by our president, signaling to the world that Ghana is ready to be part of the solution. However, we will not be carved into submission. And that is a very unique statement coming from an African leader.
All right, but if they impose their taxes on us, we don't have much of a choice, do we?
That is where we need to, just as your colleague said, we need to depoliticize our economic development agenda, and ensure that policies are put in place, not action plans or strategy. Policies are put in place, and these policies given a legislative backing, so that even if one person introduces the policy and the person is no more in office, the next person who comes to office will ensure that we follow through those policies and ensure that we compete favorably with the global world.
All right, Mr. Doche, Seth alluded to something before he started the conversation with you, which has to do with the energy transition. So the whole world is trying to shift from the use of fossil fuels to renewable energy. That's why we're having a conversation about let's cut down or cut back on the use of coal in generating electricity and crude oil and all of that. Yes, that will impact us greatly because, as he was indicating, we have all our this is the time when we're about to exploit our crude reserves. And then the world is saying that, okay, we're going away from fossil fuels, and which would also mean then funding to exploit crude reserves becomes a lot more expensive and unavailable.
Exactly.
But then that's also an opportunity for us to look within, right? To try and resolve these problems ourselves. So yes, if we have our own money, we're going to exploit our fossil fuels.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, I keep saying that as a country, or even as a continent, we have attained political independence. So we need to attain economic independence. And that economic independence will only come about when we can judiciously exploit our natural resources to the best to our advantage. Now, this whole hula baloo about net zero by 2050, it is not about telling you that you don't do anything. It is about telling you that yes, because there's no industrial development that will not emit carbons. Every industrialization will have to put out some amount of carbon in the atmosphere. But there is a balancing equation. The idea is that yes, if you want to industrialize, then tell us how you are going to abate the emissions that you are going to reduce. So for me, just as I indicated, that what the president said is very instructive. For me, the key thing is that we have to continue to exploit our resources. Then, of course, in doing that, we have to find sustainable ways of doing that in order to balance what we have also put into the atmosphere. That will, I can assure you that when we go on that path, we are going to create more jobs than ever and reduce the unemployment that's looming in our face, taking into consideration the number of young people that are graduating from our university. There are innovative young guys who are out there. Whatever we are doing, if we can come together as a country, the exploitation of our hydrocarbons, I think this is the time for us to do that in order for us to move from where we are now to the upper lower middle income. Other than that, Israel, I can assure you that when this period is over, after 2030, those who will not take advantage now will be biting our face.
All right, so, and I want us to end on the energy conversation, which the energy minister is in Glasgow to talk about. And I'm hoping that we're going to be pushing a lot more renewable energy and talking about making maybe rooftop solar available so that homes can use solar, so that the fossils the hydrocarbons, we can give that to the industries. Or yes, even at some level, we can say we're making hydro available to the industry so that the homes and small offices can use solar. I'm hoping that that's a conversation that's going to come up today.
Sure, because I mean, it's very clear that if it to be to our own advantage if we move to renewable energies, because the issue is that those who are producing or manufacturing the machines that we use in our cars, in our homes, and the rest, yes, they are coming up with policies that, okay, by 2030, by 2050, they will no more be interested in producing combustible engines. So what do we do? So we also need to look at our technical education seriously so that we have the capacity. I don't know what it means is we just need a political leadership to ensure that we come apart with the rest of the world. And I believe that the energy minister will be talking seriously about that. We are also going to get ourselves seriously involved in the energy discussion. And mind you, we are also going to push for the developed countries to make the necessary technology available so that we can also respond to the needs of our people. The bottom line is that what is the needs of our people? I think that is what we have to keep telling the world, that this is what we need as a country. This is how we want to go about it, Israel.
All right. And Seth, you were worried that the filling stations, if we shut down the filling stations because we're not going to be using fuel anymore, then we can shut down the filling stations. But let's hope that we can replace those filling stations with solar charging points. Exactly.
When I interviewed the energy minister on Monday, he said there has been a meeting, I think somewhere last week or last 2 weeks, and they are in talks with the oil companies. He mentioned Guel and one other. And they are very soon going to start installation of these chargers at the various filling stations we have in the country, Israel.
All right, so we're looking very much forward to the conversations on energy today. I, in particular, am very much looking forward to that because I'm excited about anything renewable energy. But thank you very much, Seth Kwame Boateng.
And are you there with Eniwa?
Yes, I am.
Seth, hi, how are you?
Eniwa, good morning. Are you taking care of GP?
Yes, please.
Is he taking care of what?
Of you.
GP.
What is GP?
GP. Should I say the full thing?
Seth, behave yourself.
Behave yourself.
No, yes, Grandpa. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you too, Mr. Doche, for making time to speak with us here on the issues of climate change. We'll continue to have these conversations.
I think they're gone.
All right, they're gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so